Hi all! In today's video I want to tell you about the wrestler who did one of the greatest shocks in the history of Olympic wrestling when he won gold at the 2000 Sydney Olympics. His opponent in the finals of the Olympic Greco-Roman wrestling at 130 kilograms was Russian bear Alexander Karelin, three-time Olympic champion, who had not lost at international competitions for 13 years. But this time, unexpectedly for everyone, he lost, which was a huge sensation in the wrestling world. And the American, after this miracle on the mat, became an overnight sensation. The youngest of 9 children, Rulon Gardner was born to a family of farmers on August 16, 1971. He grew up on a dairy farm in Wyoming, where his family grew crops and kept cows. Gardner worked hours on his family's dairy farm. He would get up before the sun to haul hay bales, chop firewood, milk and clean cows, and he attributed his early strength to hard work. And by living and working on the farm, Rulon also learned from a young age about hard work and determination, which later became core values in his life. They proved especially important as Rulon overcame the many challenges in his life. Rulon's wrestling career began when he was 6 years old. For 1 week each year, a wrestling camp was held in Star Valley Township near his home, which always culminated in a weekend tournament. Rulon participated from the age of 6 until he entered junior high school at age 12. In junior high school, Rulon began a regular wrestling season and continued it until he graduated from the University of Nebraska. After graduating from the University of Nebraska, Rulon continued to pursue Olympic wrestling with full dedication. Although Rulon Gardner was a talented young wrestler, his rise to fame was quite long and not very smooth. His first major success in Greco-Roman wrestling was at the age of 25, when he won the World Cup in 1996. This was followed by winning the 1997 United States Championship and 2 wins at the 1998 and 2000 Pan American Championships. When Rulon Gardner was 29 years old, as a member of the US wrestling team, he went to the 2000 Olympic Games, where he fought in the weight category up to 130 kilograms and reached the finals without any problems. But in the finals, a serious threat in the form of a legend of the Russian and world wrestling Alexander Karelin was waiting for him. Though Gardner was a pretty big guy, this fight was a David versus Goliath duel. Gardner knew that in order to have any chance against Karelin, he needed to maintain complete composure and focus at all times. The first period of their confrontation ended without any points, and the second period began with the 2 men clashing with each other, because according to the rules in force at the time, after the break the wrestlers were put into a crosshold. Then the most unbelievable thing happened, the mistake of Karelin. He was the first to open his hands, which was a violation of the rules, and entailed a penalty of 1 point. Gardner realized this was his big chance. He went into defensive mode and blocked every attack by his opponent. For 5 minutes, Karelin went at Gardner, and Gardner held him down, clinging to an amazing victory that also entailed one of the greatest losses ever seen in both the Olympics and the history of Greco-Roman wrestling. Against the toughest of circumstances, Rulon emerged victorious, winning the gold medal in one of the greatest reversals in Olympic history. In doing so, he immediately aroused the admiration of Americans, becoming a national hero in the United States. Gardner, on the other hand, said, "Karelin is a god. He was and still is the best wrestler. It's true that some people now think I'm the best, but I'm just an Olympic champion, and I'll go down in history not as Rulon Gardner, but as the winner of Karelin." After the Olympics, Gardner also won the World Championships in 2001, solidifying his status and shutting the mouths of many critics who questioned his success last year. But in 2002, Rulon faced a serious, life-threatening situation. While snowmobiling with friends in Star Valley, Wyoming, he got separated from the group and fell on his snowmobile into a freezing river. The sun began to sink and the temperature began to drop. He tried to get out of the valley, but couldn't. After 4 falls into the river, Rulon could no longer move on and decided to build a shelter and wait for rescuers. After several hours spent in the makeshift shelter, he stopped shivering and began to see visions that led him to believe he was probably dying. and when he was eventually rescued 18 hours later, he was suffering from severe frostbite and hypothermia. Gardner feared he would lose both his legs, but fortunately, he lost only a toe of his right foot as a result of amputation. After that, in just 1 year, he underwent rehabilitation and was back on the mat. In 2004, Rulon Gardner participated in his second Olympic Games, fighting at 120 kilograms. Gardner managed to win the group and make it to the semifinals, where he lost to Georgi Tsurtsumia from Kazakhstan.
Somebody's got to start. Oh, there it is!
That's a three-point explosion rush. That's going to end the match. Tsurtsumia will win.
But in the bout for the third place, he defeated Iranian Syed Barzi and won a bronze medal.
Now somebody's going to score a point here in 25 seconds or less. He releases
Gardner gets it down. That does it.
Well, he's come a long way.
After those Olympic Games, Rulon Gardner ended his competitive wrestling career. Now Gardner lives a stable life selling insurance, visiting schools and workplaces as a motivational speaker, and staying connected to the sport as a high school wrestling coach.
Судьи засомневались, что в броске буду смотреть телевизор по видео. 1 балл, хотя там как минимум 2 балла надо было давать. Где-то судьи дрогнули так. Вот еще 2 балла, 2 балла. Счет становится 2-0, 3-0. Да, тяжело Гарднера.
Les 3 derniers matchs dans la catégorie 66 kg. Ce que vous voyez, c'est le tapis numéro 1 et non pas sur le tapis numéro 2.
Победа!
Présent sur le tapis numéro 2. Sanchez, Moses, Espagne.
Американец не
Pour
будет
la
делать,
catégorie 66 kg.
побеждает.